So let's go over an example to see how this works in practice. I will quickly go over the setup and then explain everything afterwards. Let's delete everything except for div with the word React. And let's create two new directories, a functional directory and a container directory. There are many different ways to structure a React app, but I found separating functional and container classes to be the most useful. Let's focus on functional components first. In the functional directory, create a file called component1.js. In this file, we'll create our first functional component. So as I said, I'll just write the code and then explain it afterwards. Functional components are usually set up with the ES6 arrow function with the const keyword, followed by a parameter of props, then two parentheses that contain the JSX. We can then import this to our app.js file. In a render method, we can simply write the functional component as if it were a HTML element. And if we check, we should be seeing the component one, and we do. So let's break this code down, starting with the functional component. First, we only have to import React at the top. Since this is not a class component, we don't need to import the component. Next, we're declaring a basic arrow function. Since there's only one parameter, we don't need parentheses around props. Also, we wrap the body of the code block in parentheses instead of the traditional curly brackets, since we're just returning simple JSX. Wrapping the code block with parentheses is equivalent to writing curly brackets return JSX. Finally, at the bottom, we're exporting default. Default is a keyword that allows us to import component1 as simply component1. If we didn't, we would have to use the curly brackets in our import statement in app.js. Also important to keep in mind that all components must be uppercase. This helps with code readability since all HTML JSX elements are lowercase and components must be uppercase. This is not only convention, but not doing so will result in an error. So this is it for our first functional component. In the next section, we'll look at props.